Hey, everybody. Welcome to Derek Talks Real Estate on today, May 5th, 2026. Today, I am coming to you live from my alternate studio at the Redbud Group. You can see the Redbud logo there behind me. Um, so, we're over here in South Charlotte today. I just got done with the team meeting, but I wanted to go ahead and get on here and let's have a little conversation. About some dual agency and what it means and how it can affect you and some proposed changes that could be coming across the board here in North Carolina. As usual, Derek Talks Real Estate is non-scripted. We're just going to talk, and today we'll probably talk 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes. You know how I go. Dual agency. What is dual agency and how does agency work in the state of North Carolina? So, the state of North Carolina agency is pretty simple. You have buyer agency and you have seller agency, and how you're working with that agent is going to determine if you're buyer agency, seller agency, obviously. When an agent is giving you their agency, when you sign that buyer agency agreement, that listing agreement, they have to give you their fiduciary responsibility. So basically, what that means is they are having to look out for your best interest. So when you sign with me, whether it be as a seller or as a buyer, I am required by law to look out for your best interest, not Derek's best interest, not Keller Williams' best interest, not Redbud Group's best interest, but your best interest. So that means if something comes up that I may not necessarily agree with, if it's legal, moral, and ethical, and that's the way you want to function or do it, then it's my job to do it. It's my job to do what we can to make that work for you in the best way possible. I like to tell people when I'm your buyer agent, it is my responsibility to um, keep your top budget private from the seller, not let the seller know. It's my job to make sure that I am finding you the best property that fits all your needs for as least amount as possible. It is my job as your fiduciary to basically look out for you through the process, make sure that you are doing the things or advising you to do the things that need to be done so that when you purchase this house, there's no surprises down the way. I may advise you to do this inspection or that inspection, but if in the long run you don't want to do them, it's legal, ethical, and moral, then I have to follow whatever it is that you wish to do. Now, when you're the seller and I'm doing seller agency, basically my job is to protect your motivation, to protect you from underselling on the house, to look out for your best interest when it comes to any of the negotiations that we deal with. People are going to ask me all the time, why is my seller selling? And my stock answer is because they want to. They're trying to find something that they can use to their advantage. And my job as your agent is to basically hold that information. If it's not a material fact, I don't need to be sharing it with anyone. So my job is also to advise you when you get an offer come across, to advise you on what the consequences are of accepting that offer. Hey, here's where we can maybe counter back. Here's where we can do some negotiation and make sure again that we're looking out for your best interest. So that's all individual agency and kind of how the agency works there. Now that's dealing with individual agents. Now, when you're dealing with firms, again, you're going to have a couple of different types of agency with the firm. If it is a Keller Williams agent and this listed your house and the buyer is coming from one of the other firms that's not Keller Williams, or it could be a Keller Williams with a different franchise. Again, we are not in dual agency. We're still doing individual agency in those regards. From a firm standpoint, where dual agency comes in would be if an agent who is part of Keller Williams South Park were to bring an offer to one of my listings, then at that point, Keller Williams South Park would be representing both sides. So Keller Williams South Park would be participating in dual agency at that point, and then we would go one step further down into what we call designated dual agency. So I would be designated as representing the seller. That buyer agent would be designated as representing the buyer. Now, technically, at that point, the broker in charge, we're supposed to have separate brokers handling that because the broker in charge is the one that's going to handle any disputes. He's the one that's going to be supervising the agents. So, if one of them is a provisional broker, then that broker in charge is responsible for that provisional broker. And at that point, we really do need a separate person who's looking out on our side. So, but that's a little bit deeper than I really kind of want to go today. Um, Designated dual agency is, again, like I said, that would be where I would represent one side, the person on my team or in my firm would represent the other side. We put that wall up and I represent this side, they represent that side. And that's kind of how some transactions do get handled when you're in a larger firm like I am. I'm in a firm with over 600 agents. So there's going to be times where both sides are represented by Keller Williams South Park. Now, on an individual basis, dual agency would be if I, as the agent, listed your house and then I had a buyer that wanted to put an offer in on your house and I represented both sides. And this is where we run into a lot of problems, in my opinion. Um, if you've hired me as an agent, whether you're a buyer or a seller, you've hired me to give you advice. You've hired me to handle negotiations. You've hired me to do the things from a professional manner that are in your best interest throughout the transaction. But if I'm representing both sides, I cannot legally give advice to either party. So why hire me? Right? That's always been my thing. If I'm not looking out for you or doing the things that you've hired me to do, what's the sense in having me there? So I've always had a problem with dual agency on an individual level. I don't think that it's, I don't think you can do your job as an agent if you're representing both sides. There are a lot of people out there who would disagree with me because they appreciate getting both sides of the check. Again, that's a gray area that I'm not going to get into from an ethical standpoint, but I do feel like it is a little unethical. If you're going to be paying me, but yet I can't provide you the services that you're paying me for, right? So, one of the proposed changes that are coming across for the North Carolina Real Estate Commission is outlawing individual dual agency and making it against the rules in the state of North Carolina for an individual agent to represent both sides. I think it is long past due. I support it 100%. I will not do dual agency. Have not done it in the 10 years that I've been a realtor. Again, because I just don't think it is ethical and it should have been outlawed years ago. So, with that new proposal that's coming across, and I don't know when it may take effect, but with that new proposal, they are going to create um, a lot of layers that are there, and it's going to help protect the buyer and the seller or the consumer, the client, um, a whole lot more than what our current standard or situation is. So, with the new proposals, it will say that you cannot act as an individual dual agent. So, you cannot represent both sides. So, it will also make us spell out designated dual agency a lot clearer. So, if there is a situation where we have the firm representing both sides, we're going to have to fill out paperwork that states, and this has to be completed with the offer, that states agent A is representing the buyer side, agent B is representing the seller side, agent A is being supervised by so and so, agent B is being supervised by so and so. So it's going to clear up a lot of the areas in that designated dual agency that may sometimes be kind of iffy. I guess you can say. Here at the Redbud Group, we go so far as to if one of my Redbud teammates brings an offer on one of my properties, we have to use separate transaction coordinators. So that will all be spelled out with the new language and the new paperwork that's coming across if this proposal is passed. Um, it will make things a whole lot easier. I think it will clarify who actually represents you, and I think it will make things a whole lot easier. And when it comes to no longer having that dual agency, I've seen way too many people that have a dual agency situation, and the broker is handling both sides, and that broker is giving advice left and right. So you're advising one client how to negotiate against your other client, and then you're turning around and going back and telling that client how to negotiate against that client. So you're negotiating against yourself, right? And that's just, to me, not the proper way to do things. It should not be allowed that way. And I'm really looking forward to this proposal coming across and this change taking place. Thing is, we don't know when that change is going to take place. So until that time, you still have agents out there that can practice dual agency. So what I would recommend, but of course they have to have your approval to do that. So what I would recommend is if you are using an agent and they come to you and they want to represent the buyer on your listing that they're also listing, I would tell them no, that they do not have your permission to do that. Um, I think that it creates more problems. Again, they cannot advise you on anything. And if they are advising you, that means they're also probably advising the other party who you're negotiating against. So your own agent is negotiating against you. So that's where I have a problem with dual agency. So that's kind of how dual agency works in North Carolina. That's kind of how the proposals that are coming across are going to be. Again, hopefully that will be done sooner than later, and we will no longer have people in the state of North Carolina that are representing both sides. So that's your Derek Talks Real Estate today. Short and sweet. Knew this one probably wouldn't go on that long. If you want to get a hold of me, you can reach me at derektalksrealestate@gmail.com. You can text me at 704-610-1154. You can find me on here on the YouTube at Derek Talks Real Estate, Facebook, Derek Talks Real Estate, TikTok, Derek Talks Real Estate. Catch the pattern here. Substack, I have a blog that I put out 3 days a week, and it's under Derek Talks Real Estate. So you can find me at all those places. If you want to just have a conversation, no pressure, just clarity, helping you understand the process, feel free to reach out and let me know. Obviously, I would love to be the one that you use in the long term, but if I can help clarify some things and just help you make an educated decision, then that's what we're all for. All right. So that's it for today, May 5th, 2026. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Bye.